So 500,000 people have signed up to Corbyn's new party, Your Party. And this is not surprising considering that we don't have a system that represents the many. It represents the few. You've got Labour, who are supposed to represent Labour, the working class. And yet Keir Starmer has not shown solidarity with striking workers, has not shown solidarity with the millions of children, 4.5 million children living in poverty, has not shown solidarity with any humanitarian causes such as those fighting for ecological justice, for climate change, such as Just Stop Oil, and especially has not shown solidarity with Palestinian human rights. The fact that right now a genocide is happening. The foremost Holocaust scholar, Omar Bartov, who's literally Israeli Jewish himself and is currently one of the most quoted Holocaust scholars, he himself says, actually, I cannot ignore it. A genocide is occurring in Gaza. And Keir Starmer cannot get himself to admit that a genocide is happening. And of course, he's gone one step further, even trying to overcompensate for the fact that he is not the far right, or he's not the Nigel Farage, who looks like he's going to be winning the next election by mere virtue of the fact that Keir Starmer is not providing a clear, concise, something that is convincing of a political answer to the societal ills, and also the fact that he's leaving a huge vacuum in the left, which hopefully Jeremy Corbyn and his party, Your Party, form a pact or a coalition with the Greens, because they are the only two parties right now that are anti-genocide and called what's out to be a genocide. They're the only ones who are in accordance with humanitarian law. They're only the ones who are in accordance with the Holocaust scholars, and the only ones in accordance to, just recently, B'Tselem, which is a Israeli humanitarian organization. This is based in Israel, called the actions of Israel government genocidal. What's happening in Gaza is genocide. It's genocide is written all over this. And yet you have paid propagandists like Hen Mazig or, from Michael Rappaport, these people who are talentless, these people who not necessarily the brightest, spark, yet they will put out the propaganda that Israel wants them to put out. And of course they do. There are convincing that they are very much strongly, they feel very strongly about what they're saying, and they feel like they're on a righteous path. They may, but they have to know that they're lying as well. They're lying constantly. Their whole propaganda machine of Israel is to lie constantly, and to paint a picture of Palestinians as subhuman, but without saying that they're subhuman. They might call them terrorists. They might say that they're Islamicists. They might say that they're backward, but they won't necessarily say they're subhuman. But that's what they believe. They believe that Palestinians are by birth, by just very nature, subhuman, because this is why they give cover to the shooting and killing of children, of babies, it's just most disgusting, depraved, immoral kind of system or propaganda of the sort of the influencers who are in service of this genocidal state. It's disgusting that the UK government and all these governments, including the US, of course, and there's something to be said about the US and Trump and his complicity with genocide, which also includes people like Jeffrey Epstein, Alan Dershowitz, Bill Clinton, all these people who have a great amount of power, also seem to be Zionists. They seem to be very strong Zionists, and also implicated in Epstein files. It's almost as if to be pro-genocide is also to be deeply, deeply immoral at some point. Obviously, those who are in service of power and seek power are very much a certain type of person. there's more to be said about the psychology of those who seek power, the CEOs, as well as the more powerful, power-hungry people. But there are some individuals, there's some politicians who are not in the service of power for the sake of power. There are people who reluctantly take on the mantle of leadership. And that includes people like Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. These people have convictions. These people have values, principles. And even despite that, the onslaught, the media onslaught, Jeremy Corbyn still keeps strong and continues to fight further. And despite there is something else to be said, though. Yes, it's true. Jeremy Corbyn has garnered 500,000 sign-ups compared to the last recorded sign-up for Labour, which is something to the tune of 300,000 or even less than that, and Reform around 300,000. So on a grassroots level, there are more people in support of the values that Jeremy Corbyn espouses. But here's the big but. The media and politicians will fight tooth and nail against the phenomenon of grassroots, pro-human rights, pro-worker rights, pro-child, starvation, staving rights. Just bare basic human rights. The media and politicians, because they are so heavily, complicit, and also obviously they're very much at the behest. They're very much in the service of billionaires and millionaires who provide them the funding for their operations. It means that Jeremy Corbyn and all the leftists who are allied with him are fighting an uphill battle, because even though he has the numbers, we are the many against the very few. There is something to be said about democracy is being skewed by the media and politicians, because democracy is only as good as how educated the population is. The more educated the population, the more truly democratic a society is. And of course, let's not forget, first past the post is not quite what we really need in our political system is a proportional representation, whereby it's not so much getting more tallies for a certain party that is not necessarily representative of all parties that are on the ballot. Some parties have not met the threshold to be part of the ballot for many, a lot of areas in the nation. And there are systems or issues with our electoral system whereby it's a two-party race in the end. What we need is proportional representation. And so your party, which is Jeremy Corbyn party, will serve as a problem for Labour. But will it, this is a systemic issue that they are fighting against. Also the media onslaught against them. And so Labour will have to work harder to be more rather persuasive, and also take on or rather issues that they have ignored from the left. There are so many issues here. And also, if Jeremy Corbyn does get power, there's also the dark arts that are employed by nations like Israel in terms of assassination, in terms of threats. There's a lot more to be said about this, but it's to me, it's music to my ears, but also it's not surprising that Jeremy Corbyn is incredibly popular, and a true democracy would have him as the leader. And a truly educated society would definitely have him as a leader, for sure. It's just that we have these interests that are in contravention of our own human rights and our own interests. Anyways, more on this in the future. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.